Have you ever felt the urge to keep someone close and at the same time done everything to keep them at a distance? Or maybe you know someone like that. A person who disappears right when things get serious, who minimizes everything, who says they're fine when they clearly aren't. Someone who struggles to ask for help, even when they desperately need it. We often call it coldness, or we call it personality. We say, that person is just like that. They can't open up. Maybe they're afraid of intimacy. But what we need to ask ourselves today as parents is this: where does this fear come from? When did it begin? And more importantly, is it possible to change it? In this video, I'm going to take you inside one of the most important discoveries in modern psychology. How the way we were treated as children, sometimes in seemingly ordinary everyday moments, built a nervous system that still drives our emotional choices today, often without us even realizing it. It's not your fault. It's not your parents' fault. But understanding what happened is the first step towards stopping the cycle. And that is the most important thing for us as parents today. There's something most parents don't know, simply because no one has ever told them clearly. In the first years of life, a child's brain is not just learning to walk or talk. It's building something far more fundamental. It's building a map of the world, what we call an emotional map. And the central question of this map is just one: can I trust others when I need them? This question is never asked in words. It's asked every single day, through every cry, every fall, every moment of fear or joy. And the answer the child receives, not the one adults intend to give, but the one the child perceives in their body, in the tone of a voice, in the presence or the absence, shapes what psychologists call the attachment style. John Bowlby, the British psychiatrist who developed this theory in the 1960s, understood something that neuroscience today not only confirms, but amplifies. Early bonds aren't just emotional. They are neurological. They are imprinted in the autonomic nervous system. They become the default, the unconscious starting point from which we operate every time we get close to someone. Mary Ainsworth, Bowlby's collaborator, conducted in the 1970s one of the most famous experiments in developmental psychology, the strange situation. In this experiment, children between 12 and 18 months were briefly separated from their mother, then reunited. The reaction to the reunion, not to the separation, revealed the attachment style. Children with secure attachment sought their mother, calmed down in her arms, and went back to playing. Children with avoidant attachment did something surprising. They ignored their mother. They seemed practically indifferent. But sensors measuring cortisol, the stress hormone, showed extremely high levels. They weren't calm. They had simply learned not to show it. This is the key point. Avoidant attachment is not indifference. It is a survival strategy. I'd like you to picture this scene in your mind. A 2-year-old is playing. He falls and hurts his knee. He cries and runs to his mom. Mom is tired. She's had a hard day. And in a completely involuntary way, with no natural malice, she says, "Come on, it's nothing. You're a big kid. Stop crying." The child stops. He holds back his tears. He goes back to playing. Does that seem like a win? At first glance, the child has calmed down, the situation is resolved, he looks fine. But inside that small brain that, remember, is still building its map of the world, something different is happening. The child is learning a silent, repeated lesson. When I show what I feel, the connection breaks. So it's better not to show it. Better to not need anything. This doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens 100 times, 1,000 times, in different ways, with different nuances. Sometimes the parent is emotionally absent not by choice, but because they're overwhelmed, perhaps by work, by financial stress, by a struggling marriage, or in more extreme cases, by unrecognized depression. Sometimes that same parent grew up in a family where emotions weren't shown, and they simply repeat what they know, what felt normal to them, what was passed down to them. Sometimes it's even subtler. The parent is physically present, but emotionally somewhere else entirely. The child learns that they can have a body nearby, but not a heart. And that is genuinely alarming. The result, however, is always the same. The child develops what psychologist Mary Main, a student of Ainsworth, called a deactivating strategy. They turn down the volume on their emotional signals. They stop seeking comfort. They stop crying. They become on the surface extraordinarily self-sufficient. And in a culture that celebrates independence and emotional strength, this can look like an achievement. But it's actually a starting point for something that in adulthood becomes far more complicated to manage. The adult with avoidant attachment is often the most capable person in the room. Independent, competent, never complains, the one everyone relies on, the one who doesn't need anyone, the one who stays cool in a crisis while everyone else is falling apart. But in intimate relationships, something doesn't add up. They struggle to sit with vulnerability. When a partner gets too close emotionally, when they ask, "How are you really?" when they want to talk about the future, when they expect a level of openness that goes beyond the surface, they feel a deep unease they can't even explain to themselves. It's not that they don't want love, they do desperately, but something inside contracts, closes, defends. They often find themselves choosing partners they label as too needy or too emotional, and that feels reassuring, because in those relationships, they're always the one giving, never receiving, which, paradoxically, is comfortable. They never have to lower their guard. Or they end up in relationships with anxious people. And here a mechanism kicks in that psychologists call the anxious avoidant dance. One desperately seeks closeness, the other pulls away. The closer one gets, the more the other flees. It's one of the most common and most painful relationship dynamics that exist. They can spend years not understanding why relationships don't work, why they get to a certain point and then stall, why when someone starts loving them genuinely, deeply, truly, they find a way, often unconsciously, to sabotage everything. A manufactured argument, a created distance, an "I need space" that becomes a full retreat. Not because they don't want to be happy, but because their nervous system, formed decades earlier, is sending a signal they've learned to interpret as truth. Emotional closeness is dangerous. Intimacy hurts. There's an aspect of this story that rarely gets told, and that I find both devastating and, at the same time, liberating. Avoidant attachment is transmitted, not through genes, although research suggests biological predispositions may exist. It is transmitted through daily, unconscious, automatic behaviors. A parent with avoidant attachment doesn't feel the need to respond to their child's emotions because their own emotions as a child never received a response. They don't know what it feels like to be held emotionally because they never experienced it. Studies on the intergenerational transmission of attachment, conducted by researchers like Fonagy and Target, show that a parent's attachment style predicts their child's with an accuracy exceeding 70%. Not because parents are bad people, but because they're operating from an operating system that was installed long before they became parents. This is the point where many people get stuck. So there's no hope? No, it's exactly the opposite. Understanding the cycle is the first act of breaking it. And this is where a very powerful concept comes into play: mentalization. To mentalize means being able to see yourself from the outside and others from the inside. It means asking yourself, what is my child feeling right now? What's behind this cry, this anger, this silence? A parent who mentalizes doesn't need to be perfect. They just need to be curious. Here comes the part I want you to remember, the most important part of this entire video. Attachment style is not a destiny. Modern neuroscience, and in particular studies on neuroplasticity, tells us with increasing clarity that the adult brain continues to change. Not at the same speed as a child's brain, but it changes. Continuously. Always. The path toward what psychologists call earned attachment, A secure style developed in adulthood, not in childhood, runs through a few key roads. The first is awareness. This video is already a step. Recognizing your own pattern is different from being imprisoned by it. The brain that observes its own automatic responses is no longer entirely at their mercy. The second is therapy, particularly attachment-based therapy or EMDR for those who have experienced relational trauma, not because you're broken, but because having a space where you can finally show what you feel without the connection breaking is often the first corrective experience the nervous system registers. The first time the brain learns, I can be vulnerable and nothing bad happens. The third is a romantic relationship with someone who has a secure pattern. Someone who doesn't run when you show up as you truly are. Who stays. Who responds differently from how you've always expected. These relationships, when they're genuine and patient, can literally rewrite the neural circuits tied to attachment. And the fourth, the one that means the most to me on this channel, is the aware parent. Because even if you had a difficult childhood, even if you recognize patterns in yourself you don't like, this simple act of asking, what is my child experiencing right now, already changes everything. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present, curious, willing to repair when you get it wrong. And that alone will make you a better parent than most people who have never asked themselves these questions. If you've made it this far, you've probably recognized something, maybe in yourself or maybe in someone you love, perhaps in both. And I want to tell you something. The simple fact that you've thought about it is already enormously important. Because avoidant attachment lives in unconsciousness. It thrives on I don't need anyone, on I'm fine on my own, on shrugging when someone asks how you're really doing. The first act of change, the simplest and the hardest at the same time, is admitting that maybe, just maybe, you could have used someone. And that's okay. You're not too much. You're not broken. You're just carrying a map drawn a long time ago, in circumstances very different from the ones you're living in now. And maps can be rewritten. If this video gave you something, leave a comment below. I want to know what you recognized, what surprised you. And if you know someone who might find it useful, share it. Often the people with avoidant attachment are exactly the ones who would never ask to be helped. See you in the next episode of The Parenting Blueprint.